Snow White is actually written by Greta Gerwig, who also wrote Barbie and Lady Bird and Princess Ha, and we've been talking about her a lot recently because of Barbie, but also she's one of my favorite writers and directors. I've liked her since high school, so this pains me because what she is doing with Snow White seems absolutely terrible.
Dude, I trusted you. I trusted her.
Because she's involved, I want to believe that this movie will have some redeeming qualities. Will I actually watch it? Probably not. But I hope that it does for those of you who do watch it. But the lead actresses, Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, are making it very, very difficult for me to believe that there is anything redeeming about this project whatsoever. Now, I am sure that we have all seen this viral clip, but let's just watch again.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be,
Oh.
and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
Oh my god, it's a really incredible story. You're making this girl boss story based on an important father figure. Her father tells her to be brave and strong. Don't you think that there's something redeeming about men in this story? Oh, that just stood out to me. This is the first time I noticed that, even though I've watched this like 6 times now.
Just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign.
I am. Why do they look so smug? They both have that look on their face, just like the feminists, like, yeah, we're so much better than you. Anyway.
Recent developments have added a new layer of intrigue to the Snow White saga, highlighting the fierce competition between Brett Cooper and Rachel Zegler. Brett Cooper, a prominent YouTube personality, has found herself at the center of attention, not just for her role in the Daily Wire's rival adaptation of Snow White, but also for the controversy surrounding her alleged departure from the company. Reports suggest that Cooper was forced out in a hostile move, though she has remained publicly silent, fueling speculation about the Daily Wire's financial troubles and the increasingly erratic behavior of CEO Jeremy Boying. Despite these challenges, Cooper's casting as Snow White has been widely celebrated by fans longing for a return to the story's timeless magic and romance. Her faithful approach to the original narrative has earned significant praise, much to the frustration of Rachel Zegler, who previously faced backlash for her modernized, feminist interpretation of the character. Zegler, undeterred by criticism, has openly expressed disdain for Cooper's adaptation, dismissing her critics as outdated. This battle isn't just about two versions of Snow White, it's a cultural clash exposing deep divides in Hollywood and beyond. While Cooper's take is being hailed as a refreshing return to tradition, Zegler's approach remains polarizing. Adding to the drama, the Daily Wire financial woes only intensify the stakes. The question remains, did Disney go too far in rewriting a beloved classic to fit modern narratives? Or is Brett Cooper's traditional adaptation exactly what audiences have been craving? One thing is certain, this story is far from over.
You're the one in that trailer, and I'm still like so excited and I get chills. There I am, Gary, there I am! The whole thing is just so cool. The moment when the music starts to crescendo as I turn around, when I first heard the music, I was like, stop right there. That's just so amazing. Funnily enough, I recorded the song without hearing the rest of the trailer's score, so I had no idea what it would sound like. I had no idea what Jeremy and his team were envisioning, and he was actually writing the song and writing the music in between takes while he was directing Pendragon. And we were texting back and forth trying to figure out the right key and what it was going to sound like, and he was sending me messages like, I'm so sorry, I'm in the middle of, a glacier valley in Italy, and my songs aren't going through, but we figured it out.
And I saw myself on screen and I just wanted to throw up. I was so happy about it. And it was the most incredible experience. And the fan reaction was insane. We didn't even see what they were clapping for. I think it was good. I don't know.
Sizzle. We didn't see anything.
Compounding the drama, the Daily Wire is reportedly grappling with massive financial troubles. Internal whispers suggest that CEO Jeremy Boying has been frantically bugging the office, possibly in a desperate attempt to manage the brewing crisis. This turmoil adds yet another layer of intrigue to Brett Cooper's transition into a new role as Snow White in an independent production. The timing of these developments could not be more significant. As Cooper steps into the spotlight for her portrayal of Snow White, the tensions between her and her former employer raise pressing questions about the behind-the-scenes dynamics at the Daily Wire. Could this upheaval affect her ability to fully embrace a new role, or will it only solidify her position as a resilient figure in this high-stakes Hollywood showdown? Meanwhile, the Daily Wire struggles cast a shadow over its ambitious venture into the entertainment industry. With Cooper's Snow White project gaining traction and earning praise for its faithfulness to the original tale, the question remains, can the Daily Wire recover from its internal challenges and maintain its foothold in the cultural landscape? Now, let's take a step back to fully understand how we got here.
I'm a narcissist.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird. And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part. That people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie,
Right.
Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
Not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
I mean, a couple of things. Obviously, dude, so much has gone on. Trailers have come out. Like, that's crazy pants. Are you kidding me? I'm like,
I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
Right.
Every time that a celebrity gets like one DM that says KYS, they're like, I'm getting death threats. Someone save me, but not a prince. Don't
Anybody but a prince.
Don't you dare save me.
Well,
if
she
you're
like
a
when
prince.
somebody, she's like, I'm getting these death threats, and the cops were like, well, save yourself. Like,
Yeah, you're a
I
girl
saw
boss,
that.
aren't you?
I saw that interview. Save yourself. You'll be fine.
What is this movie all about? Like, what started it off? Where did you get the first idea for it? And what are you hoping to accomplish with this one?
So we got the idea for it literally the day that Rachel Zegler did an interview in which she said that she hated the original Snow White and wanted to rip the guts out of it.
Weird.
And then Disney released those ridiculous cast photos of dwarves that were not dwarves, the multiracial, multi-ethnic, tall people and one dwarf. This is how we make decisions at the Daily Wire. I literally just emailed that to my business partner, Jeremy Boring, and I was like, we should do something like this. And Jeremy's like, okay, we're just going to make Snow White, but we're going to do it to all the specs, with music, with singing, with the original storyline in classic fashion that imbibes from the original well of the values. Specifically because if Disney wants to cede that field to us, we'd be fools not to take it. And we're kind of shocked by the fact that no other studio
Expected the reaction that came with the Disney version of Snow White. There's certainly been people who have been less enthusiastic about the live action remakes they've done. I'm definitely one of them. It was very much a case of, okay, here comes another one. Then they cast Rachel Zegler as Snow White, and you think, okay, well, it's a race swap of the character, and it seems a bit nonsensical given the nature of the Germanic legend. But okay, fine.
and the name of the movie and the plot of the movie. And
Exactly.
the fact that if you want, like, I don't care about the skin color of the characters, but when the literal line from the movie is skin as white as snow.
Yeah.
And that's why her name is Snow White.
On the surface, this might seem like a simple case of two actresses with conflicting creative visions. But when we dig deeper, it becomes clear that Rachel Zegler's reaction is less about defending storytelling principles and more about navigating a high-stakes battle for public approval. The competitive dynamic between Zegler and Brett Cooper is hard to ignore. Once hailed as a rising Disney star, Zegler now faces a reputational crisis after dismissive comments about the original Snow White alienated fans. Enter Brett Cooper, a Hollywood outsider from a politically charged platform, who has embraced the role of Snow White with genuine enthusiasm for the classic tale. Cooper's growing popularity and overwhelmingly positive reception have undoubtedly unsettled Zegler, who may see this as a direct threat to her relevance and credibility. The timing of Zegler's criticism, coinciding with a growing buzz around Cooper's performance, makes it difficult not to view her comments as an attempt to undercut her competition. Zegler's apparent insecurity seems to fuel her criticisms, as her own portrayal of Snow White has been widely derided as overly modernized and disconnected from the character's roots. Her controversial statements, such as admitting she's only seen the original film once and disliked it, have done little to endear her to fans of the franchise. In contrast, Cooper's deep respect for the original material and personal connection to the role have struck a chord with audiences. Zegler's dismissive attitude toward Cooper's approach, coupled with her defensiveness in interviews, hints at a deeper fear of being overshadowed by someone who, ironically, isn't a traditional Hollywood actress. While rivalry and insecurity undoubtedly play a role, Zegler's stance also reflects a fundamental difference in storytelling philosophy. Her vision of Snow White as a fearless, independent leader aligns with Hollywood's broader trend of modernizing beloved characters to fit contemporary values. Cooper, on the other hand, represents a counter-movement that prioritizes preserving the integrity of timeless narratives. Zegler's criticisms of Cooper may stem from a belief that adhering to the traditional Snow White story is outdated. However, her apparent disdain for the classic themes of love and innocence feels more like a rejection of what made the story resonate across generations. In the end, Zegler's attacks on Cooper, whether motivated by rivalry, insecurity, or ideological differences, seem miscalculated. Rather than taking accountability for her divisive portrayal, she has redirected the conversation in an attempt to delegitimize Cooper's version. Ironically, this only reinforces Cooper's position as a champion for those who feel modern Hollywood has lost its way. Meanwhile, Snow White fans, tired of endless reinventions of their childhood classics, appear to be rallying behind Cooper's unapologetically traditional interpretation. What could have been a healthy debate about creative direction now looks more like a desperate attempt by Zegler to reclaim a spotlight that is steadily shifting toward her rival.
And welcome to the Brett Cooper Show. I am so happy that you guys found me over here on this new channel. I am so excited to start this new chapter with you guys. We have been hard at work behind the scenes, literally boots on the ground, me and my 80-year-old neighborhood grandpa putting shiplap up on the ceilings to cover up my 90s popcorn ceilings that I thought you guys would not find aesthetically pleasing on a set. We're literally in a room at my house. We put this all together. Anyway, I am so excited to bring this new show to you and show you guys what we have been working on. So my goal with this new show is to foster understanding, to go deeper and extract substance in the stories and issues that matter most to us, the issues that impact us on a daily personal basis.
Rachel Zegler may have thought she was a definitive face of Snow White, but the latest developments have left her completely overshadowed and possibly speechless. While she has been at the center of relentless backlash for her dismissive take on the Disney classic, Brett Cooper's sudden rise as a rival Snow White has completely shifted the narrative. But Cooper isn't just challenging Zegler on screen. She's also caught in her own behind-the-scenes drama, making this the biggest Snow White showdown yet. For months, Zegler has faced fierce criticism after resurfaced interviews showed her openly mocking the 1937 animated Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, calling it weird and outdated while bragging that her version will be completely different. Fans were furious, especially when she claimed that Prince Charming was a stalker and insisted her Snow White wouldn't be saved by a prince. Instead of embracing the story's classic themes, Zegler seemed determined to rewrite them entirely, alienating Disney's core audience. Things only got worse when it was revealed that the live-action Snow White will be ditching the Seven Dwarfs in favor of a diverse group of magical bandits, an announcement that even Hollywood insiders found baffling. Critics accused Zegler of pushing an agenda rather than respecting the beloved fairy tale, and her attitude toward the film's legacy didn't help. When asked about working within the original movie's framework, Zegler rolled her eyes and joked that she had only watched it once and found it unrelatable. Initially, Disney tried to defend Zegler, but the backlash was overwhelming. The controversy grew so intense that the studio was forced to delay Snow White's release to 2025, an unprecedented move that signaled serious trouble behind the scenes. Some reports even suggested that Disney was quietly reworking the film in response to the criticism, fearing another Marvel-style box office disaster. And just as Zegler's Snow White seemed to be crumbling, Brett Cooper stepped into the picture with a rival film that did what Disney refused to do: stay true to the original story. Unlike Zegler's reimagined feminist take, Snow White and the Evil Queen, produced by the Daily Wire, promises to embrace the classic fairy tale, complete with traditional Snow White and an actual prince. Suddenly, Zegler wasn't the only Snow White in town, and her version was looking worse by comparison. Fans who had rejected Disney's modernized remake immediately rallied around Cooper's film, praising it as a real Snow White that audiences wanted. The contrast couldn't be more glaring. While Zegler's version was mired in controversy and delays, Cooper's Snow White was being celebrated as a return to storytelling that respects its source material. But Cooper's rise to the spotlight wasn't without its own drama. Behind the scenes, she was dealing with unexpected fallout with her former employer, the Daily Wire. Cooper, once one of the company's biggest stars, suddenly left her show the comment section in what many believe was a bitter split. Some speculated that she was pushed out due to financial cuts, while others suspected internal disagreements, especially since Cooper remained silent on key political issues, while the Daily Wire's other commentators were far more vocal.
And I'm also really tired. I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats. And maybe that's a weird takeaway.
Even more bad news for Disney's Snow White remake coming out next year.
I'm a narcissist.
There's another Snow White movie competing with it. It's called Snow White and the Evil Queen, and the producer promises to be more faithful to the spirit of the original animated classic.
Walt once said about Snow White, to me, I thought it was the perfect story. Unfortunately, the company Disney founded doesn't agree with their founder.
Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot interview talking about this dumbass new Snow White live action movie is so funny. Everyone working on this movie seems to hate the original. Why didn't we just make a brand new movie? I don't know, Jack. I ask that every single time I do one of these episodes. I would really, really love to know. There's a couple of TikToks. I mean, they've been all over my For You page right now, which I really appreciate.
Adriana Caselotti walked so that you could run Miss Ma'am. This role would not exist for you if that role had not existed for her in 1937. I know that you've rewritten it, and it's going to be about a Snow White that don't need no man to save her. Did you ever stop to think that in this day and age, that is exactly what we want? There are women in this world who want that fairy tale because all they've known is the exact opposite. And there are women who don't want to hear about rescuing themselves because they do it all the time. You are talking down on the first full-length animated feature in history. Generations upon generations, decades upon decades of Snow White being Snow White. The way you're stomping around complaining, you're acting like a toddler. You are a toddler.
It's such a good TikTok. Everything she said is so accurate, right down to saying women do not want to rescue themselves, because that's what we do literally every single day. Thank you, feminism. Thank you very, very much. Maybe we don't want to see that in a movie.
Brett Cooper's faithful approach to Snow White has significantly amplified the backlash against Rachel Zegler's modernized vision. Cooper's portrayal serves as a love letter to both the Brothers Grimm tale and Disney's original animated classic, emphasizing traditional values like love, kindness, and resilience. Her performance has been widely praised for respecting the story's legacy, with fans describing it as heartfelt and authentic, finally bringing Snow White back to life as they remembered her in stark contrast. Zegler's reimagined Snow White, which prioritizes a fiercely independent heroine who rejects romantic love and leans into themes of female leadership, has faced heavy criticism for disregarding the core elements of the original narrative. Her public statements, including her open disdain for the 1937 film and her flippant attitude toward its themes, have made her a lightning rod for backlash. Cooper's reverence for the classic story only sharpens this criticism, positioning Zegler as out of touch with the very audience she was meant to captivate. Many fans who feel betrayed by Disney's increasingly progressive reimaginings of classic tales have rallied behind Cooper, who openly cherishes the legacy of Snow White. The stark contrast is undeniable. One actress honors the story's roots, while the other seeks to rewrite them. This divide has fueled a backlash against Zegler, as online forums and social media platforms are filled with comparisons between the two actresses. Cooper has emerged as a symbol of resistance against Hollywood's tendency to modernize beloved characters at the expense of their original charm. Her grounded, optimistic demeanor contrasts sharply with Zegler's defensive and often dismissive responses to criticism. While Cooper appears approachable and genuine, Zegler's statements, such as calling elements of the original Snow White creepy and outdated, have further alienated her from the fan base. Cooper's success also taps into a broader cultural sentiment, a yearning for authenticity and nostalgia in an era of constant reinvention. Her interpretation of Snow White isn't just a performance, it's a cultural statement, a reclaiming of a story that many feel has been distorted by Disney's modern adaptations. For fans who are tired of Hollywood-perceived pandering, Cooper's approach is a breath of fresh air. While Zegler's vision feels like a bitter pill. By faithfully adhering to the original story, Cooper has inadvertently set a benchmark against which Zegler's modernized version is being judged and found lacking.
Has announced her exit from the Daily Wire. Listen, just from the very beginning, obviously everyone kind of knows the backstory. Last couple of weeks, there's just been some rumors floating around. Some people thought the rumors were ridiculous that she was leaving. Other people were saying that there was a lot of friction that was happening in the background at the Daily Wire. What we know for a fact is that Brett Cooper did in fact announce her exit from the Daily Wire on Tuesday. While I was on a plane over to London, I had no Wi-Fi, so I landed and it was just an explosion of text messages. And, you know, I think because the exit came after there were so many rumors floating, people then assumed that all of the rumors were true. There were rumors that her best friend or her maid of honor in her wedding, which is true, obviously, Reagan Conrad would be taking over her show. And people were trying to deduce whether or not that meant that there was a lot of drama in the background. The Spectator did a summary. They're obviously quite respected. And they went through and clawed through all of the internet innuendo and noticed some things. Obviously, one big thing that has been noticed on the internet is that Brett seems to have deleted all of the photos that she had of her and her maid of honor from her profile. So that obviously signals to people that maybe some of that innuendo was true. And then the other aspect, which I was not even aware of until I read this article on The Spectator, was that apparently there was some movement. This is such a Gen Z thing, but I guess they were commenting on all of Brett's posts or something and telling her to wear blue on her last day if she's not allowed to talk about what happened. And then she wore blue. So who knows if she wore blue because it's a normal color to wear and I wear blue probably twice a week, or if she was trying to signal something. Anyways, the long conclusion of this is, as far as separations go, it appears to be as amicable as it can be. She made the announcement. It was quite sad. She did seem like she was upset in it. And then it kind of cut to Jeremy Boring, the CEO. He said nice things about her. And unless she wants to contribute something else or he wants to contribute something else, I don't think there's any reason to look further into it because everybody is moving on in their lives. And that gets me to the next point. Everyone's like, what will happen to Brett Cooper? Brett Cooper is going to be absolutely fine. I mean, beyond fine. Frankly, by the time I hit the ground, I must have had, and I am not kidding, 25 messages from people from all walks of my life asking me, can I have a contact with Brett Cooper? I'm talking about people that want to do her book, people that want to sign her for a show, people that want her to sign her for speeches. But the broader conversation that's going to be really interesting, and I think this is, again, it's broader, so it's not even specifically about Daily Wire, but people are kind of debating, you know, if this is what the Daily Wire is doing, and it looks like it perhaps is. And if I'm speaking wrongly here, we're going to find out shortly, obviously. But if we are having this former or this maid of honor take over her show, is that going to work? And that is really interesting because, you know, podcasting is a unique space. It is very personal. It's a new medium. When podcasting exploded, I think largely we can attribute that to Joe Rogan. Obviously, Daily Wire was one of the first companies to sort of try to carve out the space of podcasting and say, we're going to house a bunch of podcasters. I would say the Daily Wire and the Blaze kind of hit the ground running. And I think that nobody has really stopped to consider, can you just do that like late night TV? Can you do that like The View, where you can just keep swapping hosts and go, okay, well, now it's going to be the comment section with someone else. Is the audience going to like that? Or is the audience going to reject that? Now, if I'm just guessing, if this is my company and I'm running it, I'm going, no, I think podcasting is too personal. I think people sign up for a YouTube channel because they're signing up for that person. It remains to be seen. Obviously, they haven't done this yet. This will be an experiment for them. But I do think it starts a conversation about what it says about both Brett and the Daily Wire if they do it. Like, I think if I'm instructing what I would do, I would just create an entirely new show if you're going to bring in new talent. Otherwise, it kind of feels like, okay, well, is this just all scripted? Is that the real Brett Cooper? Did she just train to do this show and that's not actually her personality? I'm asking these questions. I know the answer to this. Obviously, it is her personality. That is very much Brett's personality behind the scenes. This is how she talks. She's very bubbly and very excited. So I don't know if that's like the message that you want to send, that we can just like train someone else like a monkey to do the exact same thing rather than just create a whole new show around somebody else. Also, she's super young. She's got just a lot of gas left into the tank. She's going to be everywhere in 2025. So we just want to wish her a lot of luck.
Brett Cooper's rendition of Snow White hasn't just reignited love for the classic tale, it has also exposed the risks of straying too far from its core. The backlash against Rachel Zegler has intensified because Cooper's approach proves that audiences still value traditional storytelling and are resistant to unnecessary changes. Zegler likely views Cooper's portrayal as a threat because it directly challenges the narrative she has championed. While Zegler has openly dismissed the 1937 film, calling it weird, outdated, and even implying that its core themes were problematic, Cooper has embraced those very elements, celebrating the timeless charm that made Snow White a beloved classic. This stark contrast has only magnified the criticism against Zegler, making her modernized take seem out of step with what audiences actually want. Cooper's faithful adaptation serves as undeniable proof that there is still a strong appetite for stories that honor their original spirit. This undermines Zegler's position and highlights the disconnect between Hollywood's push for constant reinvention and the preferences of longtime fans. Instead of standing by her creative choices, Zegler has responded to criticism with defensiveness, further alienating audiences who feel she disrespected the film's legacy. Ultimately, Cooper's portrayal doesn't just present an alternative, it sets a new standard. By proving that a traditional Snow White still resonates with fans, Cooper has inadvertently positioned herself as a rightful heir to the role, leaving Zegler struggling to justify her divisive approach.
I like the beginning.
In time, a prince would come. Once upon a time, but now that time
Brings me back to my childhood.
is gone.
No freaking way! No! Yo! Brett Cooper?
No way. Hold on. So Brett Cooper, if you were watching this, Isaac cried.
Yeah.
So I know that there's a lot of millions of men that cried.
Yeah.
But Isaac is one of them. But this says Snow White and the Evil Queen coming Bentkey. I guess that's like a production company they have.
No, that's their new children's program. So Daily Wire just released an entire children's section.
Okay, yeah, you're right. But it's coming in 2024, which the other Snow White movie is supposed to come in 2024 as well.
She's so hot.
Is she?
I'm a narcissist. Original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part. That people will assume is a love story just because like we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Brett Cooper's rendition of Snow White hasn't just reignited love for the classic tale, it has also exposed the risks of straying too far from its core. The backlash against Rachel Zegler has intensified because Cooper's approach proves that audiences still value traditional storytelling and are resistant to unnecessary changes. Zegler likely views Cooper's portrayal as a threat because it directly challenges the narrative she has championed. While Zegler has openly dismissed the 1937 film, calling it weird, outdated, and even implying that its core themes were problematic, Cooper has embraced those very elements, celebrating the timeless charm that made Snow White a beloved classic. This stark contrast has only magnified the criticism against Zegler, making her modernized take seem out of step with what audiences actually want. Cooper's faithful adaptation serves as undeniable proof that there is still a strong appetite for stories that honor their original spirit. This undermines Zegler's position and highlights the disconnect between Hollywood's push for constant reinvention and the preferences of longtime fans. Instead of standing by her creative choices, Zegler has responded to criticism with defensiveness, further alienating audiences who feel she disrespected the film's legacy. Ultimately, Cooper's portrayal doesn't just present an alternative, it sets a new standard. By proving that a traditional Snow White still resonates with fans, Cooper has inadvertently positioned herself as a rightful heir to the role, leaving Zegler struggling to justify her divisive approach.
He tweeted out and said, I like learning about the Snow White movie and realizing that Peter Dinklage took roles away from hardworking actors who have dwarfism so that he can pretend that he helped others by bitching. And then another person said, hey Snow White fans, if you were looking forward to the new live-action Snow White and don't know the whole story, you can thank Peter Dinklage for this. He felt threatened by anybody his height getting a dwarf role because people might realize that he is overrated. So obviously, I had to look into this. I did a little Google searching, and I found this article from 2022. Peter Dinklage says the seven dwarfs are an insult, but the reality is more complex. So the article says, during a conversation regarding Disney's upcoming live-action remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Dinklage praised Disney for casting a Latina actress as Snow White, but condemned them for continuing to present what he believed were outdated stereotypes. Now, this interview happened in January of 2022. It was published in February, but this happened in January. The article goes on, and they quote Dinklage saying, literally, no offense to anything. No, you're taking offense. But I was sort of taken
And there you have it. Rachel Zegler versus Brett Cooper, a clash of visions, ideologies, and storytelling philosophies. Zegler's harsh criticism of Cooper's Snow White may stem from insecurity or fear of being overshadowed, while Cooper's faithful portrayal has gained massive support, exposing cracks in Zegler's modernized approach. But this isn't just about two actresses, it's a cultural battle over tradition versus innovation, and what audiences truly want from their stories. Will Disney's Snow White crumble under the weight of controversy, or will the Daily Wire's old-school take prove stronger? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Are you #Team Zegler or #Team Cooper? Don't hold back, and make sure to subscribe to Woke Informant for more unfiltered takes on Hollywood's wildest controversies. Until next time, keep questioning the stories you're being told, and who's telling them.